in the world where we have I need a nude palette, I need a warm palette, and I need a golden palette, somehow we ended up having a purple eyeshadow palette. Hi, welcome to The Art App, a place where when Natasha Denona drops a new eyeshadow palette, especially if it's a colorful one, I try to talk you and myself out of buying it. So far, successfully. One thing that you need to know about me is that I love greens and purples. Yucca palette is still following me in my shopping dreams, so that is going to be for the next video. So when Natasha Denona dropped a new eyeshadow palette, especially when it is a purple one, my first thought was like, here, take my money. But then the promo picture started popping out and I got the idea that this is a palette that has a lot of pinks. And don't get me wrong, I do love pinks. I have a lot of them. But that's the problem. I do have a lot of them. So in order to scratch this wanting itch, I decided to do what I always do. Try to replicate the color story and see what I can get out of it. And is my collection as needy of that new eyeshadow palette as I think it is? My eyeshadow palettes are whispering that they don't have even enough place for themselves. I'm not talking about the new eyeshadow palette. So let's get a deep dive into my eyeshadows collection. Once again, hi from the Talking Hands. Today we're going to try to dupe the new Roxa palette by Natasha Denona. This is the kind of colorful palette that a lot of beauty lovers were asking and begging Natasha Denona to do. Here are all of the eyeshadows that are related to purple. And all of them are depotted and quite easy to move out of pens and to put in this DIY magnetic palette. By the way, if you see that some pens are missing the eyeshadows, it is because I'm still playing with my inner corner highlight palette. If you want to see the latest update on the usage of this eyeshadow palette, please subscribe. And without further ado, let's get started. So the very first eyeshadow is Dixie. It is a crystal sparkling warm pink with blue and purple specks. Somehow when I hear the word Dixie, I have the association with the word pixie, and this is the shade in Natasha Denona Mini Retro. But the shade named Pixie in Natasha Denona Mini Retro is satin warm pink. The sparkly one is called Galaxia. I think if you combine both of them, you will have what you get in the description of Dixie. Here, Satin Pixie goes as a base, and then I top it with Galaxia. And I think this is a very close dupe. This shade is definitely responsible for warm pink, and Galaxia has definitely blue and silver and green specks. But if we want to add a little bit more of blue, let's get the middle shade from this Huda Beauty Amethyst Obsession palette. I think it goes very well with the description of Dixie that Natasha Denona has provided. Unfortunately, this is one of very few palettes that are not depotted, so I will just put it aside. And also I'm putting swatches here so it is easier for you to follow. The second shade is Jacaranda. It is silky, matte, medium, dark violet. The very first purple that I can see nearby is this purple from Celestial Nirvana, which I would say is not bad match. Also, I have blends from Blend Money and it has very good purple. I think it is a little bit too lilac-y, so I think I will go with the first choice. And the shade is Violet Vixen from Pat McGrath's Celestial Nirvana. The very first swatch. The next one is Valour. It is a sparkling wet effect lilac pink. Lilac pink. As far as I understand, it is slightly colder pink, and I do have some hard time spotting it in my collection. Maybe in Nomad? Oh no, looks like I didn't clean the previous swatch, so sorry. Let's try it again. It looks more like a rosy pink than lilac pink. Let's try something from Pat McGrath, maybe we can find something similar. I think the first choice is closer to Natasha Denona's swatches. And in order to make it even sparklier, let's top it with Trinket from Cliona. At first I thought that the shade from Pat McGrath is a little bit too pink, but after I topped it with Trinket, I decided to go with the second option. Let's see how this duo will work together. The next one is Phoebe. Do you think it is reference to Phoebe from Friends? According to her Instagram page, Phoebe is a silky matte light lilac, and I know for sure that I don't have any color like this because in this video I have DIY'd my personal light lilac. In order to do that, I mixed a little bit of white from Essence palette and Giggle from Blend Bunny's blend. Therefore, it is the best option I have right now. I would say it is very close. Moving on to Regal. This is something very interesting because the description says that it is a metallic vintage rose. If you ask me what is a metallic vintage rose, I have no idea. But according to swatches, the closest thing that I have is Cosmic Champagne. The next one is Eclipse. It is silky matte deep purple. So deep purple. As far as I remember, there is a deep purple in Blend Bunny's blend. Unfortunately, it seems to me that it is kind of ink purple. What we need instead is something with a little bit more red. Maybe Fake from Cosmic Beauty. This is definitely closer to the original. Let's also try Decadent from BH Cosmetics Blueberry Muffin. I think maybe it is a little bit too light. The best option will be the second one. Cosmic Beauty's Fake. So now we're going to talk about the weirdest shade in this palette. It is Stargirl. In the picture, it looks like a multi-chrome, but the description says it is duochrome pink with a bronze champagne shift. I haven't seen any champagne shift. What I've seen from swatches is it has a lilac base and some pinky sparkles. So I will recreate what I've seen on the swatch. Lunar Lavender is the only satin lavender that I have, and in order to get the sparkle, I will top it with Cliona's Gleam. So here is the base, and this is the topper. What do you think about this combination? The next one is Bold. It is a sparkling foiled graphic design, violet and silver. I think when she was presenting it, she said it's a duochrome, but what I actually see is you have a purple base and then you top it with silver, which I will not describe maybe as a duochrome, but let's go with it. Let's start with Purple from BH Cosmetics Lost in Los Angeles. Also, there is one in Nomad's palette. And there's also one in Muse. Here are 3 shimmery violets that I have, and the only sparkly silver I have is from BH Cosmetics Blueberry Muffin. What I see in Natasha Denona is definitely a little bit colder, so the second one will go the best. And to check it, let's cover it with a little bit of silver. Second one definitely looks the best. Here is my version of graphic designed violet and silver. Heather, a silky matte medium dusty coral rose, is almost at the end of the second row. And this is the only coral that I have in my collection. but I definitely can see that it is too bright, too pastel-y. I do have one more, but it's slightly darker. It's from Pat McGrath Celestial Nirvana, and as I mentioned, it's a little bit darker. So maybe if we combine both of them, I think it looks perfect. My own interpretation of Heather. Give me a second to clean my hands from swatching and we will continue in a minute. Moving on to Cerise. It is a silky, matte, medium, dark, muted fuchsia. To tell you the truth, I think fuchsia is more pinkish, but what I see is more red. And recently I've seen that a lot of makeup artists include this kind of color in their eyeshadow palettes. For instance, the recent palette from Charlotte Tilbury. I actually have two options. The first one is this color from Pat McGrath Celestial Nirvana. But as for me, it's a little bit too red. The second one is in the blends from Blend Bunny. And as you can see, when I start blending it out, it definitely has this pinkish fuchsia undertone, which I believe Cerise is all about. Third row starts with the cutest color name. It is a sweet pea, which is silky matte, light medium, warm lilac. So what kind of lilacs do I actually have? The first one I can see in a Nomad palette. But as far as I can see, it is a little bit cool toned. One more I have in the Muse, which as for me is a little bit too light. Maybe something in Pat McGrath Celestial Nirvana. It's definitely a little bit more magenta, more purple than lilac. And as always, Blend Bunny to the rescue. This one. And this one. So as for me, ideally, it should be something in between these two. So as always, let's take both of them and then mix on the ice. This is the way I see a sweet pea. Concord, sparkling foiled medium violet. Let's check the swatches on my hand. Maybe we can find something. I think of purple from BH and purple from Cosmic Beauty. But as I can see, they have a little bit too much light. They have too much lilac. I need something red. I think it's time to resurrect one of my oldest eyeshadow palettes. This is my Morphe 35M, and as far as I remember, there are two purples that might work together as Concord. Please ignore this tape. Underneath you will find a very broken eyeshadow. I think the shade combination should work. Moving on to Valour. Valour is silky, matte, medium lilac. Lilac once again. Maybe this one. Or once again this one. This one is definitely too pastel-y. Maybe this one will work because the color and the undertone are correct, but it's a little bit too light. Maybe if I darken it or add a little bit of warmth. I think it's perfect. Once again, let's combine these two. The next one in line, Brink. It is a sparkling foiled pink, but I see it as a very nice duochrome. I think that it has peach base and a lot of pinky sparkles. And even if you look at the picture, you can see that its pen is kind of subdivided into peachy and pinky. So my peachy base will be the only peachy satin that I have. It is from Malibu BH Cosmetics, Lost in Los Angeles. Here is the peachy base I can get, but I think it might be a little bit more carrot-like. Unfortunately, I don't have anything like this, so let's go with what I have. And to make the topper, let's go what we already have in our magnetic palette, the middle shade from Huda's Amethyst Obsession. And the very last shade in this eyeshadow palette is Orchid. Orchid is a silky matte medium purple. It seems to me that I am running out of purple because I have already used everything that is purple related in my eyeshadow collection. Once again, let's try something from BH Cosmetics, something from Pat McGrath, and something from Blend Bunny. Which one would you say is a medium purple? I am leaning towards the middle one. I can't believe that that was already the last shade. Now let's look at the palette that we have combined. Here are all the shades that I used to duplicate the Roxa palette. You also have the name of the palettes where I picked them from. And what I can very clearly see is that it is not as purple heavy as I originally thought. It has a lot of lilacs and it has a lot of pinks. So at the moment of filming this video, there already have appeared some swatches that are not done by Natasha Denona, and I would like to do some tweaking to my original choice of the colors that I wanted to duplicate the Roxa palette. First of all, the Dixie. At first, I thought that it has a peachy base according to Natasha Denona swatches. When Morgan Turner put on her video, I figured out that actually Dixie is much closer to Galaxia than I originally thought, and maybe I would take away that peachy base. Secondly, Jakarta has definitely more red than blue comparing to what I originally thought. And also Eclipse is actually much closer to Blueberry Muffins Decadent than to the Fig of Cosmic Beauty. And also, I could see that Valour is much more of magenta purple. So in turn, Venetian red from ABH will be much closer to that color. And what I got for Valour would better suit the Orchid. And now the main question, am I going to buy that? The answer will be very fast. No. Even though the actual palette looks very interesting, the color story, it is purple and the packaging is amazing. It is not what I have originally expected. I wanted something to be more purple heavy, more purple blue heavy. But in turn, I got a lot of pinks, which I do have a lot, so I don't want to spend $100 Canadian in order to get even more pinks into my collection. Right now, I am panning Modern Renaissance, which has 2 pinks. So you can I bet you can relate when you have to pan the color for more than a year. You don't want to pay extra to get even more of very similar colors. But nevertheless, I'm very excited. I'm very happy that I tried to duplicate this palette because, first of all, I figured how to wear Eternal Amour. This is from Celestial Nirvana from Pat McGrath. It was a little bit too much for me, but when I top it with Trinket from Clinique Cosmetics, this is the shade that I was going for. I learned how to do the duochromes. Natasha Denona told me how to do that. Just mix 2 shades and you will get a nice duochrome. I think I will try that for another video, so subscribe if you don't want to miss that. What about you? Are you going to buy it? Is that palette something that you actually expected from Natasha Denona when she announced a purple palette? Please let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I would love to chat with you about that. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. I'll see you next time. Bye. That Galaxia shade is amazing. I'm so happy that I got my mini retro.